Hey guys, this is just a little bit of an update, a bit more of a hack on top of Mike's video about building out sites, mass sites with Elementor and then getting them to work in S3. There's two issues I'm going to show you in the video here. The first one is S3 buckets do not allow for /index in subfolders. So the only way you can do that is set up CloudFront, and then we're starting to get too complicated. So what this does is this allows us to change all the subfolder references from the root folder structure to /index. And then the next thing that we wanted to do as well is we want to switch from the bucket URL, so this URL here, so we've got the bucket name, Amazon, and then /index. We want to actually switch it around so we get the high domain authority. So we've got Amazon's URL / the bucket name and then index. So this is the high domain authority. This one you're starting from scratch. I'm still a little bit skeptical about how fast these index compared to how fast this indexes. So the value of the domain authority versus how long it takes to index some of these, yeah, I'm a bit skeptical, but anyway. Okay, so one of the things, I'm not going to cover off everything that Mike covered in his video. He did that well. One of the things I'm going to do though is I short track it a tiny little bit. So Mike actually says go and create a page on the website, which is the home page, and then that page is called location. Then you build out your page in Elementor, and then you copy it into Magic Page. So that process is still okay, but I actually don't use this page. So what I do is I actually still call it location. I just build out the templates in a whole list of pages, and then I still import them into Magic Page, but they're actually not used. I just use the pages part of WordPress to build out the website front end page, and then I actually delete it when we get to the Amazon point, and I'll show you why. Because what actually happens is if you want to make the reason behind that is if you want to make a change to one of your sites, you have to come in here and edit the home page, then you have to go back to Magic Page, you have to edit it there and make sure it's the same, copy it back in. This is a lot quicker if it's just straight, if you're just using the Magic Page one. The other thing too, if you're using, when you see the export and the folder structure, if you actually are using a WordPress page as part of the export, you have to then add all the schema and everything to this page from your WordPress site, where if you're just using the Magic Page, you're getting all of those benefits of spun schema and all that type of stuff. So down the bottom here, all of this schema I actually use as my index page. This will all make sense once you see what I do with the folder structure. So what we've actually done is we've got our Magic Page. I've set it to my URL structure at the moment. So in Magic Page, I've got house and land packages. So that's actually the folder structure Magic Page is doing. Then obviously location. I've set this to Broadbeach 20K, so it's just 85 websites. I've gone down to Simply Static and I've generated my files. There's my download file. I'm just going to go to here's where I've actually downloaded that file. So I'm going to just extract it. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of the download. Move to bin. Right, so when the sites are exported, Amazon actually doesn't need most of this stuff for the sites to run successfully. So you can get rid of that folder, that one, that one, that one, that one. Get rid of WP admin. You can also get rid of the login. So that's actually all that we need to run this site as a high domain authority with all the index and subfolders working in Amazon. That's really all we need. So here's where I make the change to the index file. So actually that index file here is the WordPress's homepage file. So I actually delete that. Now my main search was Broadbeach. So that's what Magic Page has done as the initial index file. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back and paste it So now the Broadbeach is my main index file. The only thing we need to remember to do with this is that we now have two identical files. So we're going to set this one, the canonical will be itself, and then this one in here, we're going to set this index file's canonical as the actual root index file, which is that one there. Okay, so let's get started with this. So open your favorite code editor, doesn't matter what you use, as long as it has the ability to find and replace in files so that you don't have to go opening individual files. That's the only criteria you need to look for here. So I'm going to just work through my list here. So what we've actually got is when WordPress does the export, the canonicals also have index.html missing off the end of them. In the subfolders, the canonicals are just the folder structure. So you'll have a problem with all your canonical URLs. So what we do is I've written this out. I'm happy to share this in the group. So I do that one, and then what I'm doing here, so what I'm doing is I'm just finding unique strings in the code that are nowhere else, so that this will do a really clean find and replace and it won't actually cause any problems in the code. So I'm going to just paste this now. So as you can see from my code here, I found the string where the canonical ends without that index, and I'm going to replace it with the index file. So it's all pretty simple stuff. Replace all, yes. So as you can see, it's moving through. So that's confirmation. It's going through and changing it. So that's the canonical link. And then it's added the index.html to the end of it. So that one's done. This is where we add the index.html to the end of the subfolder references. So all of your interlinking will work. So if you don't do this part of it, so where I've got here, this is my main URL, and where I've got here, I've got the actual links to all the other suburbs. This is where it launches into the subfolder, and you can see it just works absolutely perfectly. All right, so let's go back. And what do we got? So find. All right, so we'll do this one. So we're looking for that string. We're going to drop the index in front of it. We're going to go find all. All right, so I just did a find all then just to check and make sure that it's actually going to find them. Sometimes these inverted commas, they're straight instead of curled, so that can cause a problem in some code editors. So we'll come back. So now I'll run it, replace all. So that's all the subfolders done. So you can see here again, so these are the subfolder ones where it just ends with the folder. Now it has index.html in front of it. What's the next one? So subfolder structure. So this is where we're going to switch the domain authority around now. So what we actually have in Amazon is we've got the house and land packages. Then we'd have my Amazon bucket for this is called mass page. So that we would then have house and land packages, and then in front of that would be mass page. So that'll give you the lower domain authority, and that's how it is by default. So what we want to do is we want to switch it around. We want to put the subfolder in front of that directory path. So we're going to do a search now for my subfolder structure. And then we're going to just do a replace, doing the switch so that this will convert and give us the high domain authority structure. So replace all. What do we got? Okay, so it's done the replace all. Let me just turn off those notifications because that's crazy. Okay. So now what we want to do is we need to fix up some of the references in WordPress. So obviously, again, WordPress structure is got WP content, then it's / the bucket name. We want to switch it around. So we're just going to go looking for the content folder. And we're going to just put the bucket name in front of it. Okay, done. Now, I do know from doing these that the next one is WP includes. Change it down here, WP includes. Replace all. Yep, and then the last one for WordPress is the JSON file. JSON. Replace all. Yep. All right, done. So we've just done these. Now, the other thing I noticed as well, this might just be something on my setup, but it's something it's faster to just replace. I'm not actually getting the URL, the schema URL correctly. So what I'm actually doing is I'm just doing a global replace and at least dropping in the main root directory path to all the schema from, it's not generating correctly out of Magic Page because of what we're doing with the export, not a fault in Magic Page. All right, so we'll come back and do that schema. That's pretty much the end of it, I think. So now all my URLs will have the correct, will have a schema URL at least. The next thing is the canonical. So what I actually do is, remember I said about those 2 pages. So what I actually do is I come back into here, I open that up. So we're going to just do a find the canonical. There's the canonical URL. So this is on the index page. So I'm going to set the index page as the full path. So we've got here Amazon, mass page is the folder name, index.html. So we're going to save that and close it. Then we're going to also set the canonical to point back to that one as well. So we're going to go Broadbeach, open this up. Find. Jeez. So we've got the canonical here. Save it. Okay, so that should give us a fully working site. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come to S3. So we've got the bucket, which is called mass page. And I need to take this out of full screen. That's a pain. Okay, that's better. Okay, so downloads. So there's all our files. Just going to drop them into S3. Make sure we set it to public bucket. All right, so if all of this has worked right, that should be the URL where the page loads. Okay, and there we have it. So there's the site loaded. I'll just refresh that. So it's loading from the main Amazon URL, the bucket's in the front. So there we've got the full domain authority. If we come down and flick through, you can see it's all changing according to all the cities shortcode. So one of the reasons that I delete the main index page is that sometimes you'll have slight differences. Like you might be doing something on the index page, then you export it, you import it into Magic Page, then all of a sudden you go, oh, I need to change this. You end up with 2 slightly different copies. So doing it this way and deleting the root index file, just from my point of view, just makes it a lot easier. The other thing too is the schema. So if we actually come back to the main URL and run this through test tool. So if I hadn't deleted the main index page and then I was using that, I'd need to have a plugin on there that manages schema, or I'd have to actually put the schema into the page. There's just no point doing it this way. Magic Page just injects all the schema onto it. So from my point of view, it's a much better way of doing it. The last thing that I do then is I go to Screaming Frog. run it through Screaming Frog. I just want to make sure that everything's indexable and there's no problems. So I've got this filtered by HTML, so the pages. So all of them are indexable, which is good. Sitemap. Create a sitemap. And then we're just going to go to Amazon. There's a sitemap. We're just going to drop the sitemap in. Again, make sure you set it to public. All right, so if you come down here, click on here. So there's our sitemap for Google to go through and index. All right, hope this helps you guys. If you've got any questions, feel free to hit me up. Happy to help.